So 250 years ago, right now, the revolution was well underway. The American Revolution had been started. The Continental Congress was meeting in this building, Independence Hall. And one thing I've been doing every day is just checking letters that the Founding Fathers wrote back and forth to each other. So I figured I'd check today and see if I find anything interesting and share it with you. I've got my laptop right here. So I'm gonna be looking down and checking for letters. All right, so we got some interesting letters to check out, but of course, let's start with George Washington's weather report for June 11th, 1775. Okay, he writes, very warm with little or no wind in the forenoon, a thunder gust in the afternoon, and cooler. That's just about it. There is a little wind today, but it is warm. We'll see if there's a thunder gust. I like that word. Okay, let's check out the first letter here. This one is to Abigail Adams. This is from John Adams to Abigail Adams. My dear, I have been this morning to hear Mr. Duffill, a preacher in this city whose principles, prayers, and sermons more nearly resemble those of our New England clergy than any that I have heard. His discourse was a kind of exposition on the 35th chapter of Isaiah. America was the wilderness and the solitary place, and he said it would be glad, rejoice, and blossom as the rose. He labored to strengthen the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. He said to them that were of fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance. Even God with a recompense will come and save you. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go up thereon, but the redeemed shall walk there, etc. I think that means etc., etc. Is that what that means? And see? He applied the whole prophecy to this country and gave us as animating an entertainment as I ever heard. He filled and swelled the bosom of every hearer. I hope you have received a letter in which I enclosed you a pastoral letter from the Synod of New York and Philadelphia. Wow, Philadelphia spelled with a Y. Look at that. Philadelphia. By this you will see that the clergy this way are but now beginning to engage in politics, and they engage with a fervor that will produce wonderful effects. And then this one's titled June 17th, so I'm not sure what to do. Let's scroll down and see what the footnotes say. George Duffield, College of New Jersey, minister of the Third Presbyterian Church on 3rd and Pine. Ah, that's right over there. Okay. The pastoral letter from the Synod of New York and Philadelphia to the congregations under their care. This was written by John Witherspoon as chairman of the committee to draft it. Well, this is June 17th, but it's interesting that it's included here. I can now inform you that the Congress have made the choice of a modest and virtuous, the amiable, generous, and brave George Washington, Esquire, to be the General of the American Army, and that he is to repair as soon as possible to the camp before Boston. Well, there you go, folks. George Washington is going to be given his commission in the coming days as we approach the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Army. But I think we'll save that for later. You know, this is titled June 17th, or dated June 17th, so We'll follow along with the letters in order. Okay, let's leave it there for now. Let's back out and go to the next letter, which is from John Adams to Elbridge Gerry. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Elbridge Gerry or Elbridge Gerry. Dr. Sir, Mr. Gadsden of South Carolina, whose fame you must have heard, was in his younger years an officer on board the Navy. He is well acquainted with the fleet. He has several times taken pains to convince me that this fleet is not so formidable to America as we fear. He says we can easily take their sloops, schooners, and cutters, on board with whom are all their best seamen, and with these we can easily take their large ships, on board of whom are all their impressed and discontented men. He thinks the men would not fight on board the large ships with their fellow subjects, but would certainly kill their own officers. He says it is a different thing to fight the French or Spaniards from what it is to fight British Americans. In one case, if taken prisoners, they must lie in prison for years. In the other, obtain their liberty and happiness. Interesting. He thinks it of great importance that some experiments should be made on the cutters. He is confident that we may get a fleet of our own at a cheap rate, and this would give great spirits to this continent, as well as little spirits to the ministry. Okay, let's read this footnote here. Let's scroll down. John Adams undoubtedly wrote this letter between 1st of June, when he had letters delivered to him by Benjamin Church, who had carried to Philadelphia a letter from the Provincial Congress, and 10th of June, when Church left Philadelphia to return to Watertown. Church arrived back in Watertown by 17th or 18th of June. James Warren, who was chairman of a committee on armed vessels, whose report was, quote, was ordered to subside on 20th of June, wrote John Adams on 11th July that he had seen John Adams' letter to Gerry and added that, quote, having proposed in Congress just such a project, borrowed the letter to support it, end quote, but without success. So I guess that means James Warren saw this letter saying that John Adams thought, he's talked to Mr. Gadsden, who said that the fleet is not so formidable to America, and that they could easily take the sloops, schooners, and cutters and that the seamen on those boats, on those large ships, are discontented men, and he thinks they wouldn't fight and that they would kill their own officers. So, and then they propose some experiments should be made on the cutters. And it sounds like, I guess, James Warren got that letter and borrowed it to support his own proposal of an experiment to Congress, but that the Congress didn't go for it. I wonder why. That's an interesting question. So the last letter we have today is from John Adams, or to John Adams, from James Warren, 11th of June, 1775. This is a long one, so let's get through it. My dear sir, since my last, I have waited with impatience to hear from you. I mean individually. The public expectation to hear from the Congress is great. They don't complain but they wonder that the Congress should set a month without their receiving something decisive with regard to us. I presume we shall have it in due time, at least that nothing will be wanting in your power to relieve the distress of your country. I intended to have devoted some great part of this day to write to you, but have been diverted by calls that I could not dispense with. Since I knew of this opportunity, I have not been able to get a minute till now when the express is just going off. You will collect from the public letter by this express our sentiments with regard to the necessity of assuming civil government constantly increasing upon us, what we apprehend to be the strength of our enemies, and what have been and still are the subjects of some of our contemplations. I have not time to add anything more with regard to our own proceedings or the state of the army. I can only say we have difficulties enough to struggle with. I hope we shall do well at last. It is said General Howe gives out that he intends soon to have a frolic with the Yankees. Okay. They are ready for him and wish for nothing more. Their grenadiers and light infantry have been exempted from duty for 10 or 12 days. We were greatly elated this morning with an account that you have voted 70,000 men and 3 million sterling to be struck off in bills for their support. Our joy was dampened at 10 o'clock by a letter from your brother Cushing. I wish it had miscarried, that I might have enjoyed the pleasure a little longer of contemplating the dignity of your conduct as well as the rising glory of America. His letter was dated the first instant, and if His letter was dated the first instant, and if he had been in the clouds for 7 years past, I think he would have had just ideas of our situation and necessities as he had expressed to his friend Howley. He thinks a very inconsiderable reinforcement is to be expected, and when arrived, that Gage will not have more than 5,000 or 6,000 men, and queries whether we had not better discharge part of our army to prevent involving ourselves in an immense debt. A hint that we are to expect no support from the continent, but at the same time talks of an union, and the day is our own, as saith Dr. Franklin. I leave him and only add, I breakfasted with Mrs. Adams last Wednesday. She and the family were very well. She came to this town with her father, sister, Colonel Quincy, and lady and daughter, Parson Wybart, etc. And company. That's what it means. And company. So, and let's start that sentence again. She came to this town with her father, sister, Colonel Quincy. Is that Colonel? Colonel Quincy. And I don't think Quincy was a colonel. I'll have to look that up. Colonel Quincy and lady and daughter, Parson Wybart and company, with me that day, and was greatly disappointed to hear of a letter from... I have to look up what COLL means. I'll just skip it. And was greatly disappointed to hear of a letter from Hancock when I was not able to find one for her. I could wish she knew of this opportunity. I must conclude that, and am with sincere wishes for your happiness and regards for my friends, particularly Mr. Adams, your sincere friend and humble servant, Warren. All right, let's check out some footnotes here. On 11th of June, the Provincial Congress adopted an address to the Continental Congress prepared by Joseph Howley, Walter Spooner, James Warren, and Jedediah Foster. It apparently arrived in Philadelphia a day or two before 19th of June, when sundry letters from the conventions of Massachusetts Bay and New York were read, because John Adams, in a letter to Elbridge Gerry of 18th of June, below, answers most of the questions posed by Warren in his letter. Okay. Next is, the Congress did not vote its first issue of bills of credit until 22nd of June. Oh, okay. Thomas Cushing's reluctance to use strong measures against Great Britain led to his removal as a delegate to the Continental Congress in 1776. And this is, Ben Franklin had advocated a union of the colonies since 1754, when he was a delegate to the Albany Convention. Okay, interesting. All right, let's take a little walk here. So that was interesting. A smattering of letters, mostly from John Adams, and one from James Warren. So, yeah, I liked the one about the schooners and the naval experiments. This happens to be, I'm standing right under the statue of Commodore Barry, who was the first commander of the U.S. Navy. So that's very appropriate. There's a bridge here in Philly named the Commodore Barry Bridge after that guy. So it's kind of cool to read the letters about the formation of the Navy. And I wonder why they didn't do their experiment on the cutters and what the experiment would have been. That would have been interesting to figure out.